Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Divine Journey. I have done a lot of work since last episode. For starters, there is a speed build that'll be coming out shortly after this episode, so stay tuned for that, and I will take you over there and show you what we've been building. And then over here, okay, let's start the tour of things that I've done here. Over here, we should have, actually this is way overdue. I totally forgot about this running here. If we take a look here, 10, 10, 10, it never fills up this last stack. I'm going to turn this off. Actually, I'm just going to say it's never active. We are done with this for right now. We have 10, 10, 10 water seeds, and we have 10, 10, 10 air seeds. And then in addition, if we come up here, the FPS drops, just bombs here. I did turn off the Agricraft sprinkler animations, but still, it bombs. This is leftover Agricraft farming stations and our Maddox from inside of them. And the reason being, and by the way, I noticed Einvok changed his skin. So instead of having the, like the sun and the trees and stuff like that, it's now just obsidian skin. So, but if we step through here, and I do apologize about the FPS. I know you guys brought up in the comments, and I didn't even think about it, because in the past, MFR harvesters did not work very well with Agricraft. So I've just gotten in the habit, I never use them, and I go for the Agricraft farming stations. But I know you guys brought it up in the comments, and it was like, oh yeah, I forgot they changed that for MFR. So I changed over the harvesting to MFR harvesters. There's no planters. I mean, there's no need for planters because it doesn't break the crops. And you can see this thing is keeping up fairly well with the imaginary time blocks. Still faster than the harvester, but it's harvesting fast enough that, I mean, we're getting in a ton of Magnesio and Obsidian. So it's no biggie. And then the same over there, I pulled up all the Magnesio and Obsidian Agricraft farming stations. And down here, you can see right there and right there. So I had those 4 leftover farming stations. And what I did was I put them over here, like right there is earth seeds, the 10, 10, 10s. And then over here is fire. And then downstairs I'm going to put the water and air. I just haven't done it yet. So, but I do have earth and fire being harvested, and then I've just got some little sprinklers there. So it doesn't have any capacitor in these. I went ahead and removed the capacitor, so it's only what, a 7 by 7 farm, but it's more than enough essence that I wasn't too worried about speeding those up. They don't have imaginary time blocks. They don't have an excessive amount of sprinklers or growth pulsers or anything like that. Okay, let's get away from this. Let's get away from that area. They're just, harvesting those essence seeds. So, which means I can actually remove that seed growth area because we're done with that for the time being. Now, that's not to say we won't get into a little bit more Agricraft or do some new seeds, but not anytime soon. So over here I have some deep storage units. These top 2 don't have anything. This is for later. This is for air and water. But if you take a look here, fire essence, we have 37,000. You can see it's about 4 every 2 seconds, 3 seconds, something like that. It's more than enough. It's more than enough essence. And then we have 37,000 earth essence. And then down here we have 500,000 blocks of Magnesio. And you can see they're coming in at a fairly good rate. And then quadruple compressed obsidian, we have 1,052 quadruple compressed obsidian. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's quadruple compressed. I mean, that's a lot of obsidian. That is a lot of obsidian. So, and that, I mean, quadruple compressed obsidian, I mean, what do I have in my system? Because that's not plugged up right now. Double compressed, we have 2,755. So, I mean, you think that deep storage has way more has way more obsidian than what we have in our system. And that's 233,000 obsidian, so. And then if we come over here, I'll show you what I did in the speed build. It's just a heads up, just to show you guys what to expect. We did spend a while building out some of this, doing marble, and then I will say it was mainly exterior work that we did, and marble over here, and then you could see kind of a band right here. And this is where we worked. This is our balcony area. Which it still has a bit to do. I want to add some more greenery, and I've got a couple statues to implement here. But this is where I did spend pretty much the entire speed build for the most part. And you can see these chairs, I'm actually thinking about changing these. I don't know about how high the moon chairs, if I want those here or not. But I kind of want like a little seating area outside of here. Then we got some little telescopes. I've got some shrubs set up, but I am planning on adding like some little flower pots and some flowers and decorative type stuff like that. And then I have these gold blocks. There's one on each side. This is actually going to have statues on them. I just have to figure out exactly which statues I want to put and pose them and do all that. The statues, generally, they take a little while to do because I have to figure out, do I want them in armor? Do I want them things in their hands? How do I want them posed? That kind of thing. So I've got to do statues for each side here. And then this is all just alf glass and carpenter's ladders with alf glass, and then carpenter's barriers with alf glass. These, of course, are just decorative statues. Figured we'd use some of the knight outfits. And then I kind of have, these are alchemy relays, if you recall those from Blood Magic. I made a couple of those real quick and just set those down, and we have a little alchemy table. And I just kind of wanted like a little area that we can go out to, and it's really just decorative as far as the balcony goes. But bear in mind, I know I mentioned this in the speed build, our house is going to eventually be on that little platform over there, and then we're going to have the Botania area. So I kind of wanted like a scenic overlook from here, and we're also going to have a nice scenic overlook from the house. Okay. And then I spent a bit of time on the speed build, you know, doing this and, you know, all the little decorative stuff and finishing out this little walkway so that it all kind of came together. So, I mean, this bottom floor, you know, it's still got machines and stuff to put in, but as far as the main architectural work, it's mostly done at this point. So, yeah. A bit of work. By the way, this thing is still on the fritz. I'm almost thinking between this episode and next, because you can see I actually moved things around, tried to get this thing to connect. I have to mess with it for like 20 minutes. Anytime I log on, I have to mess with it like for 20 minutes to get the thing to work. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is maybe just running a cable over and having the V network plug in like right here or something. Just have a V relay right next to the energized node, so it just pumps it straight in and doesn't, because it seems like it'll usually connect for a few, and then about halfway, sometimes a little bit farther. Right now it's a little bit farther. Usually it breaks off like right here, but it just starts, it acts up. So it's like it doesn't want to change over multiple chunks or something. I don't know. But then after the speed build, I spent a bit of time, quite a bit of time actually, over here, and I got us 2 more altars. Because we're going to be using these for automation. I did some thinking, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to have this one for manual. This altar is very big. It's got more altars than what we need, and it's kind of our manual crafting. And I'd like to keep it that way, so we have kind of a place to just go and manual craft things out. And then the ones up here, I'm going to put these behind glass, and these are just going to be automated. So if you're up on this floor, you'll see these, and you can see them running and stuff. And there's probably going to be more, truth be told. There'll probably be more. But right now I just have the 2. This one on the right hand side is not stable yet. I have not stabilized it. This one over here is stabilized. So if we pop in here, let's remove this block. You can see there's heads, and below that there's more heads, and above there's heads. Now one thing to note, I started to stabilize this and put heads through here. But then I realized they're not super far apart. And you have to make sure these stabilize, or these pick up stabilizers from 12 blocks out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's why I didn't put any right there. I ended up picking them back up because I didn't want the stabilizers on this, like on this one, to affect that matrix over there, because it wouldn't have something 12 blocks away on the other side stabilizing it. So I went ahead and just trimmed those off so that only like this runic matrix is affected by these stabilizers, and I'll do the same thing on this side. So that's why I have some above and some below, because I can't go too far below because we have a ceiling right here. I guess technically I could probably go one down if I wanted to, but that's fine. Let me get some stone here just to clean this up. So yeah, I spent a bit of time getting these set up and ready to start automating and stabilized, or this one stabilized. We'll start with one, and then I'll do another one like off camera, because there's quite a bit of setup that goes into it. Also, I did craft a couple wireless chargers. One is actually set up behind here. If you pull up, right here. You can see there's a Tesseract with a wireless charger right there. And then I set one up over in the storage building. You know, the kind of like the tech mainframe. So I did set up a wireless charge over there. That way our stuff stays charged. I was tired of having to go over there to charge it. So, and that's the main things I've been working on. I mean, I moved the quarry around and, you know, did little miscellaneous stuff like that. But that's where I spent most of the time, was the agrocraft area, the balcony out here, and then setting up those runic altars and doing all that. So, yeah. And, oh, by the way, I did not set up any more Arcana Limbics. I meant to, but I didn't. This one, I don't know why. Okay. This one has stuff in it where I cook stuff up. I don't know why I did that, but anyways, I just didn't have time. I did not have time to do it. So I didn't. Plus, I did some thinking, and I'm still having issues with it smelting, over smelting. Like whenever I log off and log back in, it'll fill these up with some stuff, and on occasion. So I'm still debating if I want to do just the advanced alchemic, like a couple of those for our actual usage, just keep this room for decor, or how I want to do that. So, but anyways, and also I don't think anything that we're going to be making today needs it. But anyways, last episode, of course, we went into the maze, the Thaumcraft Maze, and we got our very first Primordial Pearl, which is kind of a major stepping stone within Thaumcraft. And, you know, originally I was planning on making the claw, and I was messing around with it and thinking, and basically, if you're not familiar with the claw, what it does is it activates infusion altars when it gets a redstone signal. So, you know, it's basically, you can do the same thing with an autonomous activator. But I do like the infusion claw. I love the way it looks. It looks really cool. But there's two major issues that I did not think about whenever I was first considering using the claw. And I don't think, at least for right now, I don't think we're going to do the claw. And the first reason is because I forgot about Gatomancy's, if you have the claw set up and it activates an infusion altar, it gives the infusion altar some just baseline instability based on the quality of the wand and stuff. I don't think there's a way to get no instability. If I recall correctly, all the wands are going to give instability, and all the staves are going to give instability and stuff, but you can lessen that instability with better wands. Okay, and wands aren't terribly cheap at the moment for a good wand. So, I mean, that's one problem, okay? So the claw does instability, and we don't really want more instability because I'm kind of tight on space anyways. Like, trying to get these things to fit in nicely, that I don't want to have to add more stabilizers than the baseline, you know, perfect infusion. And I don't know, instability kind of worries me. Having instability with an automated system could be bad. Okay? Now, in addition, another downside of the claw, and this is something I cannot stand when this comes up. Wand Focus Primal, I totally miss that it takes Tempestus. Okay, which Tempestus, that's fine. It's air and aqua, if I recall. Yeah, air and aqua. But here's the problem. Tempestus, there is no item in the game, in, like, ever. Like, unless something is added specifically that has Tempestus. Nothing has Tempestus. No items that we could smelt down stuff. Now, you can still get Tempestus Essentia, but it's a pain. And we probably will still get Tempestus. I don't know if there's any other infusions in particular that take Tempestus. And I don't know if the Primal Focus is used for much outside of the Claw. Leggings of the Burning Mantle. So there is that. But those are kind of... Oh. We will have to make those at some point, because that's the Wyvern legs right there. Which is fine. We can still get Tempestus, and it's very, very simple to do it. You can do a mana bean farm, and what we would do is we would just breed Tempestus, and then that would be the mana bean farm. Because I don't know that we're going to do any other I don't know if there's really any need to do any other mana beans, because mana bean farms are quite large generally, and quite size intensive. And there's not a whole lot of reason when you can go and smelt something else like stone to get Terra. Why would you make Terra mana beans, you know? So mana beans, we'll probably just use those for the more rare stuff. And so it's a simple process of breeding air and aqua together to get Tempestus, and then we can use that Tempestus to spread and make more Tempestus beans. But I don't know if that's something I want to get into. I really want to get the Infusion Altar automated. So I think we're going to bypass the claw. We're going to use an autonomous activator, like probably most everybody else does. And later on down the road, we might play around with the claw, but the fact that it has that innate instability kind of worries me for automated stuff. I'll probably mess around with it more in a test world. I do have a test world altar set up with it, and I've been testing it with just standard stability like what I'm running here. I haven't had any issues so far, but I do want to do a little bit more testing. So for right now, we'll just use autonomous activator, then down the road we may change over to the claw. Okay, so anyhow, today what I want to do is we are at long last we are going to automate the Infusion Altar. We're going to start automating that, and it's not a difficult process. It's actually very, very simple to do. Mainly a lot of AE is what we're going to be doing today. Applied Energistics today. So what we're going to do is let's start out with, let's make, I don't know, a couple interfaces to start with. And then I'm also going to want, let's see, controller is another thing that I'm going to want. We'll just get like some basic, I need a Futura block. Okay. I didn't automate those. You can if you so desire, but it's really not, it's not a whole lot of issue. So whenever I need those to just, pow, there you go. So ME controller, because what we're going to do is we're going to make a subnetwork, and we're going to make a subnetwork for each Infusion Altar that will control the items coming in to basically the Infusion Altar is going to be its own private network. Okay, and then we're also going to do some export buses. Let's do, let's see, I've got 12 pedestals. I think 12 is going to be fine. I'm pretty sure 12 is going to be perfectly fine for each Infusion Altar, because I think that pretty much covers all the recipes that I've seen at least. And I think probably anything that goes above 12 is probably something we're not going to need to automate, because it's probably going to be like a one-time craft kind of thing. And then I also did make infusion providers. I did make a couple of these. I'm going to grab one of those. And let's also get, let's get some cables. Let me go ahead and order, like, I don't know why I'm ordering such a small amount. Let's go with like 200 more of those. Let's get some cable anchors. Let's get some quartz fiber. Give me like 30 of that. Go ahead and get that ordered. I don't need 30 of it, but we'll go ahead and get 30 ordered. And let's see. I think that's the main things. And I'm sorry, I don't want export buses. I wanted storage buses. 13 of those, because I forgot about the central altar in the middle. So we're going to be doing a subnetwork. Like I said, you can do conduits as well. Subnetwork's a little bit more intelligent, a little bit stronger. So that's why we're going to go with that. I've used both of them in the past, so either one of them could work, but it's just preference really. Storage bus, and then we're also going to want an import bus. Just one of these. And then, oh, let me get an interface. One more interface, I think. Okay, and I think we're good to start anyways. I do believe. So this network here, it runs through here. This is dense Fluix cable. I think we're just going to plug into that. It's actually in the perfect spot to just plug in a P2P to it. And, oh yeah, I do need to get the stuff for a P2P as well. So let me get a P2P. And then I'm also going to want a Fluix. Let me get some dense Fluix and some smart Fluix. And that should be good. Should be good. Let me grab my memory card. If I can find the thing. I swear I lose things in this bag. There it is. And I think we're just going to plug into that dense blue cable that's right there, because at most this is going to have like 3 or 4, 8, 12, 16 channels, only half the capacity of that, possibly less. So I'm just going to use that dense blue because we're not going to be actually using a lot of channels on our main network. It's mainly going to be sub-network channels that we're going to be using. So that should be fine. So just go grab that real quick. Oh, and by the way, the wireless charger up here, this is actually right there. I ran a little power cable over, so the wireless charger is sitting right in the middle of our controller setup. So, all right, so let's grab that blue cable line, and then let's see. I guess I'm going to run it through the bottom of the floor, and then I'll have to come through and facade this whenever we go to actually decorate this room out. But we'll just have the dense cable line. Actually, I guess it's going to end right there. We'll have the smart cable come out right there, and then we'll just plug our P2P line right there, and then load the settings. Okay, and that should be good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have just some glass cable come out. No, actually. Dense blue. We'll have a dense blue line come out right there, and it's going to go down into the floor. We're going to plug in some glass fluix right there, and then we'll have our interface, and this is where the recipes are going to come out at, right? So we'll have an interface setting right there, and this, see, the wall will be right there. Tell you what, let me remove that. And let me actually come down here. Okay, so the interface is going to be setting right there, and my wrench, we'll go ahead and wrench it so that it faces downwards. There we go. Faces downwards. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have another interface setting right there. Okay, and this interface is going to be separate from this line. Alright, so this interface isn't going to pass channels through it. If you take a look here, it's still only one channel. That's this one interface that's connected to it. This is going to be where our subnetwork begins. Okay? So then what we're going to do is let's have... let me actually remove a little bit more of this. We're going to have our quartz fiber cable just connect into that, I think, and then run power down into this interface. And then we're going to bring a line out right here. And this is where we're going to put our controller setting right there. So it's getting power, of course, from this line coming out of that interface. And then... so that is our subnetwork. Our subnetwork has begun at this point. And let me actually light this up just so we can see what's going on a little bit better. And I'm going to go ahead and light that side up just so I don't have any spawns. Okay, so now what we need to do, we've got the subnetwork set up, and so what we're going to do is we're going to come around, we actually have to pull up pretty much most of this floor here. And I just want to make kind of like a little circle, and we want to make sure that we can access the bottoms of each of these arcane pedestals. Probably would have been easier if I'd done the stabilization after this, but that's fine. We can still get to everything. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to plug in storage buses into the bottom of each of these arcane pedestals. And so I want it to go on the bottom, thank you. There we go. Bam, bam, bam. And we shouldn't actually need like dense lines. I mean, this should be fine with just regular fluix, because we're not going to necessarily have a lot of channels coming out. I mean, these storage buses are like where most of the channels are going to be, and we can just do 2 fluix lines. That should cover all of that. Okay, so all of these have storage buses. And then what we're going to do is we are going to put a, right over here, right underneath this one. Let me actually pull this head up real quick. We're going to put a storage bus underneath this central arcane pedestal. Alright. And then we get to plug all this up. And keep in mind, I'm going to have to come through and cable facade like pretty much this entire floor, which is fine. That's not a problem. Okay, so I think this will be the middle point, so we'll just run cables that come out, and we'll just kind of run these out along this side. So, just like so. And then we can actually plug it in right there. It plugs in on this side of the quartz fiber. That's why I did it on this interface, not that interface. So there is 8 channels. Okay, or I mean, it's not using 8 channels, but there's 8 channels coming out of that interface. That is fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have another line come out of the ME controller on this side. And we'll just bring this over. And this is going to connect into these 6 storage buses. So we'll just start and run this around. Like so. And let me pull that up. And then in addition, there's 6 channels right there. Then we're going to use the last 2 channels on this line. One's going to connect into this storage bus. And what we'll do is we'll just... actually, I can pull this up. We'll come around this side here. So there's 7 channels. And then what we're going to do is the import bus. We're going to put this right there. We're going to put it on the side of this arcane pedestal. Because the arcane pedestals, they can be accessed from, I think, pretty much any side. Now, the central one, you can't access it from the top, of course, because you have the runic matrix right above it. But these can be accessed from, I think, any side. If there's any side that it can't access, it would be the top. I haven't actually ever ran anything into the top of it, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But okay, and I mean, that little flux, you can kind of see it if you stand right here and look at it just right. But there's going to be glass right here, and you're not going to be able to actually walk inside of this room. So I think for the most part, it's going to be kind of hidden. So, and that's pretty much all the cabling. Then we just have to plug this up, or that's most of the cabling. And then we'll just, whoops, went too high. Oops, there we go. We'll just plug it in right there. Okay, so 8 channels on this side, and there's 7 channels on this side, counting that interface, or the interface below it, I mean. Okay, and funny story, most of it's set up now. Most of it. Now, there's one other thing that we're going to have to set up that's AE. We are going to have to set filters, which we'll do that in just a moment. But we're going to set the output for this. So what we're going to do is we are going to have an interface setting. Let's actually just do a cable anchor right there, and we're going to have an interface setting right here. And this interface, of course, connects in with the dense blue, so now there's 2 channels that we're using. And that's all we're going to use over here is 2 channels. Well, no, technically 3, because we have the Essential Provider we're going to plug up as well. But so there we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a, let's see, do we want to put an interface? Or, no, a storage bus. We're going to do a storage bus. So let me order one more storage bus. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the storage bus on the bottom of this interface. And then we'll just plug our cables into it like so. Okay. And this is going to be the output for the network. And I'm going to go ahead and right here I'm going to set the priority to like 1,000. Okay. So this storage bus is going to have the highest priority on the network. But we are going to filter it. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Okay, and that's pretty much set up. We do have to set up filters whenever we go to put recipes in, but that's, that's not a problem. And the main thing you want to watch out, I think, for this, I think the main thing you'd want to be careful of is for things like, for example, if you take a look at mirrors. If you recall, before we made the magic hand mirror, if you decided to automate that, right here, make sure, like, you've got the magic mirror that then turns into the magic hand mirror. Put these in 2 separate recipes. Like if you craft something to then turn around and Infusion craft something else, just make sure they're kind of spread out. So you don't have, like if you're making a hand mirror over here, you don't want the magic mirror to be in the same spot. Put it over there. Okay. But we will eventually have more altars, and that's just for speed purposes. Technically you could put all your recipes into one altar. 2 for things like I just talked about, but I think we'll definitely want more for high demand recipes. Alright, the first thing that I want to move towards automating is Ichor. I definitely want to get that stuff automated, but we're going to follow the quest book, and the first thing we need to do is get advanced alchemical constructs. Now these aren't terribly expensive. I'll go ahead and tell you, and I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead and automate these as well. But before I do that, I have to get this thing sorted. and get it plugged back up. Okay, the V is plugged back up again. So I went ahead and I brought this around like that, and it connected right up. So maybe that was having an issue where that it was trying to travel through that great wood. I don't know, because sometimes it's flickering here. I think it's just bugged, and we're gonna have to plug that up. By the way, on the issue of bugged, last episode I totally derped, and it's been so long since I did the Thaumcraft Maze. Those bugs where I was taking that imaginary damage, it was actually because they were on my head. I know you guys mentioned in the comments, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. If you look up, you can knock them off your head. It's kind of like head crabs. So that was totally a derp on my part. Totally a derp on my part. So I do apologize about that, and just a heads up. Okay, so let's grab our knowledge core out of here. And we are going to set up a recipe for the advanced alchemical constructs, because that's something that we are going to be using a bit. So it's just void metal blocks, alchemical constructs, primordial pearls, alchemical constructs like this, filtered essential tubes. We're going to have to automate pretty much this entire process, I think. So let's go ahead and do that. There's how to make essential tubes, and then we've got we need to make filtered essential tubes, which is V filters. Okay, so that part is done. Let me go ahead and order an alchemy catalyst, and we'll let that craft up. There we go, and then we can automate. It's like that. Alchemy catalyst, dark steel, and there's alchemical construct. Okay, so that part is done. And you can see this knowledge core is actually kind of starting to fill up a little bit. And then let me actually just grab this, because I don't want to have to manually craft. So alchemical construct, make me one of these, and we should see this thing. There we go. It just crafted, and you can see the stuff. It's really, really fast with this acceleration card, or the acceleration cards. Alright, so now we'll pop that in there, and then we can automate our advanced, actually let me pull it up as alchemical constructs. We're going to need that, and then we're going to need 4 void metal blocks. So let me just order like 100 void metal, so that can get crafting. And then we're going to need our Primordial Pearl, which I have right here. And I'm actually, well, once we're ready to do this, I'm going to just put this into the AE system, because it's not consumed on craft, which is good, because having to get those, that would be so grindy. If you had to do the maze, like, every time you wanted to craft an advanced alchemical construct. So these things aren't the fastest thing to craft, because it takes so much metallum that it takes a while to fill it. It really, really does. I don't know if additional essential providers would make it any faster. Like, it almost, I'm going to do some testing with that, because if we could do additional essential providers, we might have like a separate alchemical construct set up, like in the middle or something, that's just for making void metal, because it's so expensive and so time consuming, and we use so much of it, that has like, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 essential providers plugged into it. Actually, probably like everything covered except for the in and outputs. And just cover it with essential providers. I'm going to have to mess around with that and see. So, alright, void metal. We're about to get our first block. I need to set this up so it stays stocked, honestly, is what I need to do with void metal, because it's so slow to craft. Void metal, I need to put that as a recipe as well. So, I'll do that in just a second. But anyways, our void metal blocks, alchemical construct, primordial pearl, I got it backwards. And there's how to make an advanced alchemical construct. Okay, so that part is done. And we're going to have to wait on void metal blocks before I can get that crafted, though. So we'll just drop that into there. And I'm going to go ahead and teach it a quick recipe and just say that if you take void metal, that makes a void metal block, because we do need that recipe. Okay, and I'm going to have to let that run for a little while, that void metal, because we're going to have void metal. And I actually think it's used for Ichor as well. Not here, but I think the Icorium, right? No, it's... Okay, yeah, it's Void Metal Block and Thaumium. Okay, so while we're waiting for that stuff to craft up, we're also going to need some other things, because we're going to be automating Ichor. That's our main focus for today as far as automating the Infusion Altar. So that is 2 Salus Mundus. Let's go ahead and grab that stuff. So 2 Salus Mundus, and then we're going to need, oh yeah, the 2 cores. We're going to need a Diffusion core and a Coalescence core. Oh, you know what? It's waiting to make balance shards. Ugh, okay. Let me actually cancel this out for just a minute here. And I'm going to go ahead and just order 400 void metal. No, I can't. I'm going to have to run the spawner a little bit more. Give me like 200 void metal. That'll be alright. Okay. Which I don't... Let's see. The void seeds. Are they still craftable? I want to say they're disabled in this pack, aren't they? No seeds, but... I think the Crimson Cleric method's probably the best. I just need to run that spawner a bit more. Okay, so... Our cores, those are done. Coalescence, Diffusion. And then... Let's see. Ichor... And we got to make sure everything's automated as we go. Salus Mundus. We're also going to need 2 blocks of Enderium. And then 2 blocks of Dragonstone. So, 2 blocks of Enderium. And actually, let me take this Primordial Pearl. I'm just going to dump it into there. Alchemical Construct. Let's clean this up a little bit here. And then Dragonstone. I'm going to have to teach it a recipe here. And say that if you take... Why will it not... There we go. That's how you make a block of Dragonstone. And we'll get 2 blocks of that real quick. There we go. And then we're also going to have to teach it how to make orange Illumar. So, this stuff right here, it's very, very simple. Just 2 orange dyes, 2 glowstone, which, many more patterns. There you go. That's how you make orange Illumar. How much orange dye do we have at the moment? And can I not use floral orange powder? Because if I can, I'd rather use that. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're going to encode. So we're going to say 2 floral orange and then encode it. And we'll get 2 of those real quick. And there we go. 2 orange Illumar. And then we're also going to need a Nether Star. And then the last thing that we need, or the last 2 things that we need. In this, we are going to have to automate getting this stuff. We'll probably do it probably next episode. But we need Nether Shards and Ender Shards. Okay? Now, these 2 things, we don't have any of these in the system. I looked earlier. And there's probably a good reason for that. The Nether Shard only drops in the Nether. It has to be in the Nether, and it drops from pigmen. Basically, some pigmen will be holding a Nether Shard, and that's where it comes from. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set up a spawner. I don't have those prepped, and we'll prep those, and I'll just set them up next episode. Honestly, I may do it between episodes, just off camera, because we've set up mob spawners many, many times. Because basically what we can do is we can have a pigman spawner in the Nether, spawning pigmen, and we can get Nether Shards that way. And then End Shards, those come from Enderman in the end. And you know, it has to be in the end. That's why we don't have any of those, because you don't really kill... we don't generally kill a whole lot of mobs in general, I guess. Let me dump this stuff. Look at this. Like, it's just dirt for days in here. This is kind of interesting. There's like patches of netherrack. But let me fly around. Let me find some zombie pigmen. I'm just going to manually kill them for now, and then we'll set up a spawner later for those. Just so that we've got them on hand. Because we're going to be using a bit of Ichor as we move forward. So it is something that we're definitely going to want automated. Okay, I just got done in the Nether. Oh, okay, we're going to the end. But I did get done in the Nether. And we got our Nether Shards that we needed. It actually took a little while to get these. Because, thanks to Lycanites mobs, I don't actually have a whole lot of pigmen in the Nether. So it took a little while of flying around to get those, and then on the way back I actually got a second one. Wait a second, let me deal with this. There we go, triple the danger. Okay, and then we just need an Ender Shard, which, like I said, we'll do some automation setups, or I'll do some between this episode and next, because you can do spawners. I mean, they don't have to be natural spawns in here, they just have to be in this specific zone, okay? So, or this specific dimension. There we go. See, there's an Ender Shard. They take a few kills, but I did get a zombie pigman in a soul vial though, so we can easily make a spawner for it. Okay, that actually took a while to get that second one. You can see I did get a mob soul, an Enderman mob soul. Oh, and I got a trophy too. All right. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the zombie pigman, I actually got a zombie pigman soul as well. So we've got Enderman souls and pigman souls for later on, you know, whenever we need them. So let's head back over here, and we're going to get our first 2 batches of ichor, which we don't have to worry too much about making too much of that, because we're going to be using a lot of it as time goes on, it seems like. Okay, so since we got that, let's take a look at the ichor. I think, yeah, all of these aspects we have automated. So that's no problem at all to make. So let's get this laid out. Actually, let me set up a recipe first. So pattern terminal, we're going to say that if you take 2 processing pattern, 2 orange Illumar, 1 Ender Shard, 1 Nether Shard, 2 blocks of Dragonstone, Coalescence Core, Diffusion Core, 2 Salus Mundus, 2 Enderium, and 1 Nether Star. Okay? If you take all of these things, you're going to get something. So let's get this laid out real quick. So, Coalescence Core, Diffusion Core, okay, I'll put that right there. Then we have blocks of Dragonstone, there, orange Illumar, right there, and right there. And then we have our Nether Shard, Ender Shard, Salus Mundus, and then we have Enderium right there and right there. And we put down our first, or our Nether Star. And then let me grab my wand real quick. And it looks like my V has all disconnected while I was gone, which is great. Okay, that's going to start running. And it's going to take a little while for all this stuff to come in. Yeah, it's doing the Spiritus right now. So while we're waiting on that to run, let's go ahead and get ourselves, let's go ahead and get ourselves a Nether Star. And what I want to do is I want to, on the storage bus that goes on the bottom of the pedestal, we're going to put Nether Star into that. Okay? And we'll go ahead and set the priority up to 1,000 for that. So if a Nether Star comes in the system, then it's going to go into this arcane pedestal in the center. Okay? Just to make sure that it doesn't end up on these arcane pedestals. Now, there's possible that there could be Arcane Infusion. No, it looks like if there's a Nether Star in the Arcane Infusion, it's in the center, so that works out perfectly. But see, we could also automate like the Wyvern cores with that same filter and stuff like that. Now, the import bus is going to have its own filter as well. How do we want to do that? I think I might blacklist, actually. Blacklist the storage buses, because that way we don't have to, on the import bus, because the import bus only has 9 slots at most. And if we blacklist on the storage buses and say, like, you can't accept Icorium, then it's going to send it straight to the interface whenever it can import. Well, no, we're not going to be able to do that, because we're going to have the import bus is going to have to know when it can accept it. So we'd have to also blacklist Nether Stars. Yeah. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I have an idea here. We are going to use the import bus filter, but that's okay. So what we're going to do, let's make ourselves some capacity cards. Give me 1 more of those. That's fine. Because we can always do like 4 import buses, and really I think that's probably about the most that one infusion altar is going to accept, or what we're going to set up in there. Okay, but there's our first batch of ichor. And let's say that quest is completed. We get an overgrowth seed, but we can't turn it in until we get our 4 advanced alchemical constructs, and I believe... yeah, we don't really have enough void metal yet for that. So I need to go over there and turn the cleric spawner back on, but we're not going to be using the advanced alchemical construct this episode, so I'm not too worried about that right now. Okay, so ichor, what we're going to do is this import bus right here, we're going to put our capacity cards into that, and we're going to put ichor in the import bus. So we can import ichor, and then what we're going to do is on the storage bus here, we are going to set ichor right there. So ichor can go here, and this is a high, the 1000 priority, and let's actually set it up to, I don't know, 10,000. Okay, so it can import, or it can store ichor into this interface, and that should be good. So now, for example, if I was to set ichor down right there, it just got pulled out. Okay, and if we take a look in our wireless system, actually, is it? Okay, you know what? The priority is not working correctly. It's not prioritizing this interface. So, I can either go through and I can blacklist ichor on these. Okay, you know what? I derped. This isn't how I had it set up in my test world. What we're going to do is we're going to have the interface setting right there. Okay? And then, let's get ourselves an import bus. And I've got import bus pulling from the interface. So over here we've got the main network feeding into the subnetwork, interface to interface, and then the output from the subnetwork is interface to import bus. That's how I've got it set up in my test world. And then we'll just put a cable right there, connecting that. And it says device missing channel. We're waiting for it to get the channel. There we go, online. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set ichor into the config for this interface and tell it that it can store the ichor there. And so then if we place down ichor right there, and we take a look in our system, we now have 1 ichor. Okay? So there we go. That is now sorted. I apologize. Okay, so that is now pulling in the stuff. And another thing that we're going to do really, really quick, well, let's wait till we make our pattern here. So, was it 8? Yeah, it's 8 ichor per craft. So in our pattern terminal, we've got this pattern laid out. We're going to say that makes 8 ichor. And we're going to go ahead and encode that. And then we'll pop over here to our interface. And we're going to use the interface from the main network. And we're going to say, there's how you make ichor. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, blocking mode, do not push crafting items if the inventory contains items. Okay, so since this is interface feeding into interface, it's going to read all these other storage buses, and that's going to count as the inventory. Okay? So we don't have to worry about it just trying to pump in random items and going into slots that aren't needed and stuff like that. So then what we can do is, oh yeah, I got to set up the infusion provider part as well. Let's put the infusion provider right there. Just right above the runic matrix. Let's see, the way I'm going to have this designed out, it would actually work if I ran, let's see, that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm just going to run the cable straight across. Because I'm actually going to have a beam that comes out and connects that over. So this will be great. And then we can just bring it down. And we'll just plug into... well, tell you what, we're going to plug in like that. Okay, so altogether from our main network, we're only using a channel here, a channel here, a channel there. So 3 channels. And we've got infusion provider. It says device offline right now. There we go, online. Okay, so then if we were to order ourselves some ichor, let's order 1 piece of this and let's see what happens. You know what? It can't do balance shards or coalescence cores right now. That's what it's waiting on because I have void metal in there. There we go. Get those crafting. And I know the altar's not going to activate right now, and we're just going to see that everything comes in appropriately, and then we'll set it up to activate. So there we go. Everything just kind of popped in all, automatically, and so there we go. So now what we need to do is we need to, and we already know that Ichor automatically, it gets pulled into the system appropriately, right? So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to do the final part of this, which is just activating the altar. And like I said, we're going to use an autonomous activator. So let's just order that guy. There's that, autonomous activator. And then let's just grab one of these wands. We'll just take the Thaumium Bast. I'm going to have to make more wands, but that's fine. And we are going to have to supply this thing with power, so might as well. Tesseracts are cheap, and everything's pretty much automated to make them, so it's not really a big concern. Oh, by the way, I do have a surprise to show you guys once we finish this. I've been holding out to the end of the episode because it's kind of a big moment. I was happy when I finished this, so I'll just show it to you in a moment. Okay, so the autonomous activator, we are going to set this up. I wonder if I could just put it like right above the runic matrix. That's the thing, the autonomous activator doesn't look nearly as good as the claw, I don't feel like, but later on we probably will change over to the claw just because. But I don't want to do, I didn't really want to do a mana beam farm today. I wanted to get this stuff automated first, and so I was like, well, we'll do autonomous activator, and then later on we'll do the mana beam farm. I'm not 100% sure if the infusion provider will provide through a block. It should, actually. It should do it. So yeah, we'll put the autonomous activator right there. We're going to say that, I guess it doesn't matter. It can't pull items from any direction. And we're going to set a Tesseract down right there. And we're going to change this to block everything except energy. And we'll just say connect into library input. Okay, so that's got power. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say right click, aim level, first slot only, and you can set it up to do redstone, but you don't really have to, because the nice thing about the Thaumcraft altar, first off, it's the way we have this set up, it's not going to send items until it has everything ready to send. Okay, and as you saw, it actually sends everything instantly at the same time. And then in addition, the way Infusion works, it's not going to craft unless it has something that is craftable. Okay, so if it had, like, for example, if it had all this stuff, but it was missing like one orange Illumar, or it was missing one Nether Shard, or something like that, it's not going to craft because that's not a recipe. But if the situation comes up where something, maybe you have like one recipe that's like, maybe, for example, you had a recipe that was a Nether Star, 2 Enderium blocks, and 2 Dragonstone blocks. Technically, it could craft if those specific items came in, but the way it sends stuff with our setup, it's instant. It sends it all at the same time, and it makes sure it's got everything before it sends it. So it's not really a concern for us, I don't think. I didn't notice any issues with it in my test world. So then we just put our wand right there, and let's see. Right click, not sneaking, aim level, and everything should be laid out. Yeah, see, if we manually click it, it starts. Okay, so we are going to have to get the claw then. I know in the past I've used the autonomous activator, so we are going to have to get the claw. That is something we're going to have to do, but we can get that next episode. It's not, yeah, we're going to have to do the mana bean farm to do it. But we're going to have to get a primal wand focus anyways for this. So it's not really a big concern if we have to do that. I was thinking the autonomous activator would do that. And I didn't think about testing some of the other ones, like, I think there's some other, like the, MFR has one, right? Maybe not. I think it does. I think MFR, I don't know. But anyways, that's fine. I mean, I'm wanting to get the claw long term anyways, so that's okay. That's okay. Because it's not like it's far away anymore because Void Metal, Advanced Alchemical Construct, Focal Manipulators, which I think are standard, well, Alchemical Construct, Primal Charm, that's all automated now. Golem Animation Cores, that's fine. It's mainly the Tempestus and we'll just do some mana bean work next episode. But let's make sure that this thing runs and we don't have any kind of flux or anything. It shouldn't be. It should be full stability, because I've got like about 250 zombie heads, I think, laid out or something like that. It's quite a bit. It should be plenty. And there we go. The ichor just got pulled in, and if we take a look in here, there's ichor, 2 of them. We should have more than 2, though. I didn't have that happen before. I've only got 2 ichor in the system, which is rather odd, considering the fact that... Let's say something here. 8 ichor. It got pulled out of here. And it's not deposited into any of the interfaces. Like, it's not there. I mean, that's a pattern there, but that's just a pattern. It's not ichor. And, yeah. And any other storage bus, I mean, you'd be able to see it if it was in the subnetwork. It's not in the subnetwork. But it just kind of vanished. I don't know. I don't know where it went. We got 2 out of that, though. I wonder... I don't know. I'm going to have to play around with that. I'm going to have to play around with that more, because I didn't have that happen in my test world. And, I mean, I don't know where else it would have went. It shouldn't have gone anywhere else, so... I don't have any more Nether Shards, or I would test it, so... Okay, well, I mean, we got the first part of it set up, and... albeit a bit buggy at the moment. I don't know why that happened. Like, it boggles my mind, because there's nowhere else that it would have gone. I mean, it's not like I have ichor going anywhere at the moment. Like, it's not like ichor was sent off to do something, because, like, I just now made ichor. So, I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. I mean, we saw that 2 of it went in there, and it didn't. It's not like it went anywhere. Oh, wait. Wait, okay. It's like 20, 10? 10? And it may have to do with the, I don't know, maybe the import bus acting up whenever it first crafted or something. I don't know. Because like I said, in my test world, I don't have that issue. But the thing is, in my test world, it's a little bit different because of the fact that my test world doesn't quite have as many, like, ticks and stuff going on. But let's grab, we have 9, well, that's actually not a good idea because we have fish coming in. There we go. We have 9243 at the moment. Yeah, and I mean, they're going in there appropriately. So, I don't know. I'm going to just chalk it up to a bug, and we'll see later on if that issue continues. I don't know. Because getting 2 and getting 8 is a big difference on ichor. Okay, now one thing I do want to go over before we end out the episode, which next episode, okay, I know we don't have the activation part set up. We got the majority of it. Next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a mana bean farm. We're going to get the claw, and we'll get the claw set up. Since the autonomous activator doesn't seem to want to play with us. Doesn't seem to want to play well with our setup. So, that may have been changed at some point. Since when I used it for altar automation. It may have been changed, or it may be changed in the pack. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, that's what the claw's there for. The claw does it, and it does require a redstone signal to do it, if I recall correctly, but that's not really a big issue to feed it a redstone signal. And what we could do, if we wanted to, is put like a comparator here that reads when the pedestal has something in it, and then it sends a redstone signal to the claw, or we could just do it on a timer system. Probably, I don't know which one we'll do for sure, but that's no problem if we can't use the auto activator. And also next episode, I'll get the spawners and stuff set up for Nether Shards, Hinder Shards, so we can start getting those coming in. Now, what I did want to cover, what I did want to mention and bring up to you guys is in our quest book. If we open this guy up, we have 2 quests completed in automation. We have finally made these. The 4096, now I don't have enough to actually use those for anything, because if you take a look at storage, right here, I've only got one of them. We need 2 minimum before we can actually do anything with those. So that's fine. But for the 4096, we either get 12 crafting co-processing units or 8 64 crafting storage. Definitely going to take the 64 crafting storage. Crafting co-processors are super cheap. 64k is a bit more expensive. So, and then for the 16 meal sale, this we either get 12 nether stars or 4 dragon eggs. I'm going to take the dragon eggs because we have thousands of nether stars. So not really a concern on that. Okay. So the only quest that we have left here is view your items wirelessly. That's the one. I'm going to have to actually complete that through the cheat menu, I think, because that's the one that doesn't get completed. So technically, we have automation done. Automation is completed, which actually I just cheated in the HQM edit book because there we go. I'm going to click and complete that. And that's just due to the fact that we've got that item. I mean, it's sitting right here, but we were never able to complete it. So it's just bugged. So we'll just trash that. We don't need that book. And there we go. So that way, we can complete this and get our golden egg. And that is done. The automation quest line is 100% done at long last. So, exploration is just pretty much waiting on witchery stuff. Farming is, I need to just go through and make a bunch of these seeds. We're not going to be able to make all of them right now, but I need to just go through and make a bunch of them because we're not going to be using them, but we still need to craft them for the quest. And then gadgets is mainly these. By the way, can we make these now? I haven't even looked at these for so long. Oh, it's dimensional shards. Never mind. Dimensional shards, we are going to have to wait until we get into dimensions before we can make those. Those are pretty late in the game, actually. Those are like right before end game because Dimension Leaper, and that's when we're going to get into like really crazy resources coming in. Like astronomical amount of resources coming in. Honestly, once we get into those, because we are going to need a lot of those like 16 meal storage things. And I mean, that thing has taken me quite a while to make one of those. Mainly because I have to keep moving the miner and stuff like that. It's going to be a while before we make a second one. But once we get into dimensions, it's not going to be any problem at all to make those. And then we need to go back. I mean, some of this blood magic, like this stuff right here, we can't do yet. Like these 2 quests. Some of this stuff we could do, which we'll go back and do that at some point. But Botania as well. We've got a bunch of these flowers we need to make. And so stuff like that. But yes. And Thaumcraft is probably going to get finished by the looks of it. About the time that we finish up Thaumcraft, more or less. I mean, because I really don't think that this stuff, I don't think it takes anything from witchery. I mean, unless some of these crafts have something from witchery that I've missed, but Thaumcraft is one of those that you don't actually have to go back to, really, to complete it, I don't think, so. It's a lot of little cleanup stuff. But anyways, I know it's about wrapping up point for this episode, so I am going to end this one out here. We'll finish up, like, Thaumcraft stuff is right there, like the infusion, but we do have to get the claw, it looks like, so that's fine. I mean, like I said, I was originally planning on doing the claw anyways. We are going to have that little bit of instability that using it gives, but honestly, if we use like a good staff, a good wand, something like that, I think it's going to offset it, because basically the instability depends on the V storage. The higher the V storage on the wand, the lower the instability. So I'm going to see if I can find some numbers, some exact numbers on that. And I need to also make sure that modded wands work. If it's just, I'll have to look into all of that, because I'm not 100% sure on the numbers and the math on how it does that. But which I am kind of curious about that. Normally I don't worry too much about the math aspect, but I am going to light this area up a little bit. And I've been waiting on getting these, because I actually have places for those. And I'll start, I'll get those put into our storage building, which means we might actually get a roof on the interior now, now that we've got that. So I'm excited for that. Now, I will say, I know I mentioned it in the speed build, but just a heads up, probably the next speed build, we're going to be working on the witchery area, because I do want to start getting that stuff together, that area laid out, because we're going to be moving into witchery in the next couple episodes, which I'm really excited about. I can't say for sure that we'll get like all this Ichor stuff done before we move into witchery, but we will kind of be bouncing back and forth, as well as Botania and blood magic. We're going to kind of be bouncing around on all 4 magics a little bit in the coming episodes. So, also, I think, let me double check here. Hemoglobin power, this right here, crystal clusters. Oh wait, never mind. That's Draconic Evolution. That's still a little ways off. Because we are going to have to get through Witchery before we can do that. For some reason, I was thinking that took Ichor. I got really excited there for a second. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, to stay up to date with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.